Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular board meeting on March 12th, 2026. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Roll call tonight. Everyone is in attendance, including Linda. She is joining us via Zoom, correct? Yeah. Can I get a motion for adoption of the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Is that Ray? Thank you, Ray.
I'm awake.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, do we have any announcements tonight?
I have one.
Joanne?
The Welcome Center front office will be closed on Friday, tomorrow, between noon and 1 for a quarterly all-staff meeting. We'll open back up at 1. So don't visit us at lunchtime tomorrow.
That's very nice. Any additional announcements?
I have an announcement.
Oh, go ahead, Linda.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Up in gate 5, and I don't know how many other gates, we received large totes on Friday from SSC, and I understand they're going to start evidently putting us on you. We just simply put all of our stuff in one big tote. It's huge. It's as big as the ones we put our garbage in. But all of us up here received ours today, and there was a note attached to it that I'll try to send to Timey and Joanne that tells about the program. It might be also on the SSC website, but I think that pretty soon the whole valley will have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that notice was on the e-blast in the last 2 weeks, and we thought that was enough. We didn't need to repeat it again, but we can if people haven't seen it.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional announcements? All right, hearing none. Move on to property owner comments. Do we have any property owner? Oh, wait, hearing none. All right, property owner comments, 15 minutes total, 3 minutes per person. You guys can come on up to the podium to state your name, address, and so forth, and have at it.
My name is Steve Greaser, 22 Marigold Drive, number 11. I'm a user of the marina area, the boat launch and the dog park, and I hear there's stuff going on, proposals coming forward, and I have one question. Well, I have a couple of questions. Are members allowed to attend committee meetings?
Yes.
To observe? Okay. And I understand next week's long-range planning committee has the marina, and it's a proposal and presentation there. Is that just the marina, or is that whole area that is that proposal?
We were gonna be discussing it, but
Assessing the marina or the whole area?
the whole area, but I don't think we're going to now that it's been announced to the community already. We may do something with it, but it'll just be going over it. There's no presentation at this point.
Okay, well, what is the proposal and who developed the proposal? Where's the proposal coming from?
You'll see that during long range planning committee, and then we'll also be showing you as well.
No, but my question is, if somebody's making a presentation of a proposal, who is that, and where did that proposal come from?
It'll be the board that'll present the proposal to you.
So
It's not scheduled.
how did the proposal come about? It hasn't been in part of any meetings or any
Well,
committee
just so you
meetings?
know, this isn't believe me, there's been tons and tons of meetings on the dog park for years and years.
No.
Yes, and this is not a question and answer time right now.
Okay.
We have board business tonight that's on our agenda.
All right,
This isn't on our
then I'll make
agenda.
my
I do
comment.
appreciate
I'd
it.
like to see more transparency in what the board is doing, because I look back on the minutes of the committee meetings, the department meetings, and I don't see any reference to a process of coming up with this proposal. So whatever's been done has been done separate than the formal process that is in place for developing stuff like that. It's not, I got my 3 minutes here.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's not really the board's job to come up with management type proposals and things like that. That should be generated through your staff and community meetings and come up and board reviews it then. And so it's not board going off on their own, coming up with their own proposals and doing things.
Correct.
The other thing is, as far as the agenda and the meetings, it's very deceiving when it says on the agenda, Marina, proposal and presentation. With all the input you've always gotten about the dog park, it's clearly an item that is interested to the community as a whole. And you wouldn't have a clue that that was going to be discussed when it says Marina and then proposal. You know, I first read it and I thought, oh, you're talking about the boat launch or something. So, and looking back at the meetings, I see the same sort of thing. I would encourage a little more detail in some of the meetings, so it really reflects what's going on.
Got you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Yes, are you joining? Or you don't want to?
That was 3 minutes.
Hi, James Pinkerton, 51 North Point Drive. I'm also here to talk about the marina and the dog park. As I was looking at some of the project stuff that struck me is we need a cohesive strategy. Right now, these feel like a set of ideas and not a cohesive strategy. So I'd really like either the committee that's working on it to think about this from a who, what, and how. Like, who is asking for this? Every good project needs customers. What problems are we actually trying to solve? We need clear benefits. Every good project is well defined and understood. And then finally, how much will this cost? So if that's already out there, my apologies, I've not seen it, but a lot of thoughts about the initial cost and then ongoing maintenance. When I see things like badging, that adds a whole host of things I'm concerned about. So really, when we look at the dues and the limited amount of resources, I want to make sure we're getting the best bang for the buck. So my ask for this group and others is make sure you're getting community input, because I'm there 4 times a week. And right now the dog park is working. My concern about restricting it, making more room for families, it feels like we have other opportunities for that. So if there's any way you can include us as the community of dog park fans, happy to get more involved.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it was James, correct? James?
James, yes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Barbara Michelson Harder, 172 Polo Park Drive. If everybody here wants to talk, I ask the board to please let everybody talk and not cut us off at 5 people, because 5 times 3 is 15, and you're saying it's only 15 minutes. So I would just ask if other people want to speak, that you give everybody a chance that came tonight to speak their 3 minutes.
You're wasting time. You're wasting time on your 3 minutes, sorry.
That's right.
I didn't mean that yet.
And I think other people are gonna say what I wanna say, and I think the way it has been laid out so far, maybe that's not the way it is, but you see it in the newspaper, there's nothing on this meeting, and then the next time you see it, it's on the Long Range Planning Committee for Marina Improvements Presentation and Discussion, and I have the same questions that Steve had. Who put the presentation together, and who's going to be discussing it? And is there going to be anybody there that really uses the dog park almost every day to be a part of that presentation and that discussion? If you're not going to do that, then you are really eliminating community input. So we need to know that you are really being transparent, and I'm sorry, but the way it's coming down, it just doesn't look that way. So you may want to rethink that. And the other, because one of the things, it's working, the dog park works. I understand people want to use it in the summer for those few times of the year that it is sunny and people do want to go out there. Some of the things that you said in the paper don't make any sense. I think if you got the community input, then you would realize that. I don't think any of you go out there, or do any of you have dogs? Do any of you go out to the dog park?
I do.
Okay.
I don't
I have a
have
dog and I don't go to the dog park.
Okay.
Because there's dogs running around everywhere and my dog doesn't like dogs running up on.
Ah,
So mine's on leash always. Mine's always on leash.
so I do have a question.
That's a dog park.
Yeah,
But
so,
it's, there's the parts where it says on leash, that's what I'm saying, and they're not on leash there. That's
yeah,
not-
but I think,
Right,
That's
we're
a
doing
dog
it.
park.
and I think that that's what we need to address. We need to address making sure people have their dogs on leash in the parking lot. I think the things that always have been suggested is fencing off the playground. I don't think anybody objects to that. You know, making sure that that part is safe and secure for the kids and the people that are on the playground. Those are the things that I see talked about. So we need community input. So I don't know how you want to set that up. Maybe you want to set up a special meeting for everybody for the dog park to come and talk to you and tell you what they're looking for. I do have a study that I don't have my hands on, but I'll bring it next time. One of the reasons that everything happens so well at the dog park and the dogs don't get into fights is because it is a large area. And so dogs that want to play with dogs can play, dogs that want to be off by themselves can go off by themselves. And that's
3 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Can I go next?
You can, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Tommy Fleck. I'm 195 Harbor View. I've got 3 lots up there, and I've been here 28 years. Use a dog park consistently all the time. This one has been there thousands of times, and it's an important way for our community to be able to walk our dogs. It's not safe to walk our dogs along the streets. There's no sidewalks. There's no lighting for us. There is no way to get over well when cars are there. It's very important we have a place to be able to walk them. I'm a mental health counselor, and I know how important animals are for people's well-being, especially in this society. They need to be able to use a place like that. Personally, I've been down there so many times that I've met 4 of my best friends in Sudden Valley down there. I believe it's a place where we socialize. We can also be strong and bond together. And that's one of the places where we meet. There are several trails in Sudden Valley that have now been stamped with signs, specifically the one in Gate 3 on Topper Court at the end of the road where there's a green gate. That now says dogs have to be on leash. That's not even Sudden Valley's property. That is Stimson's property. So I'm really tired of all the rules. I'm really sick of them. This is the 3rd time I've had to speak at one of these meetings because this comes up every, 3-4 years? And it's not talked about ahead of time because you don't want us here. You don't want our voice. So I would like some rights, and I hope that if we're on camera, some of you people start calling and complaining and stand up for us. They want the dog park to be a fenced-in area that literally is underwater 7 months out of the year. Find a better place. It's inappropriate. It's not okay. It's not okay. This is bullying.
There's one person online.
Anyone else want to go? All right, then we got
a lot more people here.
We have someone online too. I just was asking if we want to give a break.
Hello.
Hi,
Okay, my name's Sharon Bolio.
Sharon. Sharon, thank you.
And I'm at 5 Sunnyside Lane. And so, as everyone's mentioned, nobody really seems to know what the plan is, so I don't really even know what I'm addressing specifically as far as how you plan on addressing the things that were in the article. So it's clear that people who use the dog park really value it, and we don't want to be pushed out of it. I had not heard that we would be fenced into an area underwater 7 months out of the year. I didn't know anyone knew where a fence was going yet. So other issues addressed in the article were water quality, and fencing dogs into any certain area isn't going to change the water quality if people don't pick up their poop. So that is completely, irrelevant as a topic for a reason to fence us away from any certain area. Dogs go on the beach. They don't necessarily poop on the beach. They poop all over the lawn, and if it's not picked up, it's gonna pollute the water the same as if they're pooping on the beach. So whether or not they're on the beach or not, which I don't know if that's the purpose, is to keep us off the beach with the changes, but
No.
It's not really gonna change the water quality, which was brought up. Smooshing us into a small area will ruin whatever surface we're pushed onto. I've been to almost every other dog park I've ever been to. The surfaces are down to the dirt where dogs are smooshed into a small area. As far as the seasonal use, and the park being underwater, most of the areas, there's 8 or 9 months of the year when there is not families at the park. And they're not down there because of the dogs. They're down there because they're in school and they're busy and they're not taking their kids to the park. They're going to sports or whatever else they're doing with school. And it's winter and they just don't really no one goes down to the dog park unless they need to exercise their dogs. That's the only people down there. And whether you can walk your dog on the road or not isn't really the same as being able to let them run free at the dog park and visit with your friends. So if there's going to be changes, I think they should just be seasonal. I don't think that it should be year round, that we're forced into a small area when that isn't changing the water quality. If you want to change the water quality, you need to get people to pick up their poop. There's no signage down there about picking up poop to put any pressure on people.
There's signs literally all over down there that say that, but go ahead, it's okay.
There's not really.
And some of the signs down there, my husband put down there.
That's 3 minutes, thank you.
Last of all, the playground area is unsafe. It's not meeting Washington state standards for playground areas.
It's 3
There's
minutes.
supposed to be cedar chips and it is gravel. So that is putting all homeowners
Sand.
at liability.
It's sand down there, but
It's, no, on every park in Sudden Valley, it's gravel, and in the park there under the swing set, it's gravel.
you're,
Thank you.
And
Thank
that
you. Your
is
3 minutes
actually
is up.
breaking the law.
thank you.
My name is Gary Piers, North Horizon Hill Lane, Unit 8.
Derek, I'm sorry.
Gary.
Thank you, I'm so sorry. Hearing problem.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to just kind of reiterate what everyone else here has been saying. Most of us, we're down there 365 days a year. And particularly all winter long, the only people that are down there are the people that are using it for their dogs. It's not being used to hang out and go sun, go swim. It's for the people with the dogs. And the dog park right now, and for all the years I've been here, it's a mess. There's holes, there's people are gonna trip and fall, the dogs, I see the dogs fall in the holes. I believe that there's definitely a need for some maintenance and some repairs down there. But from what I saw in the paper, this is the first time I was aware of anything happening with the area down there, with the recreation area. And so what I'm asking is you have some transparency and you provide some input from all, particularly the people that use it 365 days a year for their dogs, and that you either form a committee with all the group that's here or everyone else and make this a very transparent process for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Neil Miller. I live at 18 Windward. I just moved up here and I get down to the dog park all the time. So that's just what I wanted to speak about for a couple minutes. We have a little Dawson and we like to throw the Frisbees. So I would like to just have an area that's large enough if you do want to collapse the size that the dogs can run and hopefully not fall into holes on the ground. So just that. And also I would like to know about if there is a key card entry or some such. I would like to know if maybe some of the rule breaking is from people that come from out of the area that don't live in Sudden Valley, possibly. I don't have any qualms about that per se. Just as like other people said, a little transparency on the next meetings or so would be really nice to be let aware of and pre-meeting happenings. Thanks.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Is there
Anyone else who you want to do
doesn't
online?
want to speak? Could I have your minute? You can have my minute. Can I have your minute? So no, I got a little bit nervous and I just forgot two things.
Yep.
I wanted to let people know that there's a lot of places that you can go if you don't like dogs. The AM/PM beaches do not have dogs allowed. We have two pools, the main one and the adult center pool. If you want to swim, you have other places to do it. This is the only place we have a dog off leash area, and I really think that that's what's needed. Other people can find any other place within our Sunny Valley territory to be able to be at. The other thing is that I've heard it talked about where there is attacks from dogs onto humans, and I would actually like that to be the police reports to be very transparent and let us know exactly when those happen, how those happened. And instead of just hearsay, I'd like it to be true. The other thing is, a long time ago, for tax reasons only, and it wasn't voted by the members, that dog park, that marina turned into a place where all people could go instead of just our members. That wasn't voted on, it wasn't okay. Now we have an overload of invaded people coming in all summer long. The dogs aren't the problem. The problem is everybody else that is absolutely invading that space. So I would like you to get to what really is going on and listen to at least 40 to 50% of the people that use that park, because it's being overused in the summer and underused all winter. And in the winter, the 7 months where that is underwater, I would love for us to be able to be anywhere we want. We're not bothering anybody during the 7 months that no one else is there. If you really need to do something different, then make a time frame where it's appropriate for us to come in or go. And then you don't have to build a fence. It's just ridiculous that this is the third time we have gone into this debate. We keep telling you no, and you keep bringing it back up, and now you're bringing it back up without transparency. You're not even telling us. Last time I was talking in this exact same arena and thought process that was going on, there was 150 people. Because all of us knew that this was going to happen. Obviously, all of us at the dog park don't know this time. Not being transparent. Thank you and thank you. Thank you.
Can you do our online person now? Is that all right?
It's Lori.
It's Noreen.
We don't know, that's the whole thing.
And Noreen, you were able to talk right now if you want.
She?
No.
Okay, no worries. We can go back to her. Anyone else? Well, thank you guys for coming down tonight. Believe me, there's been a lot of thought into this, and it's been a long process. I've looked into it myself because we do get reports, we do get complaints from people on both sides, right, about the dog park. This has been going on for years and years, quite honestly, and I have seriously like a stack of this much, how many board meetings, committee meetings, park and trail meetings. There was a dog park committee at one time. It's truly amazing, all the information that's available on that, but we will be getting it out to you guys. It's not on the agenda tonight because we're not prepared yet, obviously, to just show you everything. We don't have the cost back for everything yet either. So Long Range Planning Committee is involved. I assume it's gonna be on your topic coming up.
We had planned on that, and then the article came out, so, but we can still do a presentation and then further explain and expound on what was in the article.
No questions, no, go ahead.
Can
Yes,
I just
yeah.
say, it's very confusing to say that there's gonna be card swiping in and out, and then there's people.
Card reader access.
I was also under the impression that it's a public use area, like you said, people are coming in from all over in the summer. Where's the swiping point gonna be? Are they allowed to be
Well,
there?
this will all be, you will see all this at the presentation. And at that time, you'll be able to see anything and probably ask some more questions at
And
that
then
time.
there will
I'm not
be-
running that, Tommy is, and Sean, I believe.
And then there will be more public comment after that?
I'm not exactly sure how
You
it's
can't
gonna
just do
go.
the presentation and then not have more public comment.
Well, we'll see how it goes. And
When we're
then,
getting shut down right now.
You can't do that.
and the card reader access is, and I don't wanna we have other business to do tonight. This isn't on the agenda. That's why.
Right, but if this is
I-
the only chance we get.
No.
then-
Well, I mean, when it's on the agenda, you guys could come back then and we could actually maybe discuss a little more, but typically, these aren't question and answer times, this is board business. And we have this business to deal with tonight. The card reader access is to actually address a couple concerns with the public coming down and actually using the park where it really was designed for the community. Originally, that's what it was envisioned for. Originally, it was only 1 acre of land. That's what was approved in 1997 via policy. That 1 acre of land is morphed into 3.2.5 acres now. And it's gotten overrun the community area. It's a community park. It's not just for dog owners. It is a Sudden Valley Community Park. There's 7,000 plus homeowners in the community that need to have access to that park. So we want to be fair. So not everyone loves dogs. I have a dog, right? So I'm a dog owner. Not everybody appreciates dogs. Not
There's a lot
everybody.
that do, because they come, that's why families come, because they bring their dog
Well,
when they enjoy.
and that's also, and on the flip side of that, it's also the reason why people don't come, because the dogs run all over.
That's why we have AMP and beach.
No, that's not why. That's just, anyways, but thank you guys all for coming. I do
With all due
appreciate it.
respect,
Yes, sir.
if we wait until you have a proposal all worked out and presented, it's pointless for us to come and hear the presentation, because there's no chance to influence. You've got the entire process backwards.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but this is not the way to do it. I've seen this over and over. I have experience working for homeowners associations, and you're doing it backwards. Board members do not go out on their own, investigate, then you come up with a product, and then present it with no input from the
All right, well, I thank you guys for your time, but I would argue that this is not coming out of the blue. It's been going on for years and years. But thank you. I do appreciate your time, guys. Thank you very much.
You gotta know that he was a former GM of Sudden Valley for 5 years.
It was amazing.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments?
Thank you guys for
What was
listening.
I'm sorry, what was the date for the chance?
Yeah.
The 18th, I believe?
He was right, you're doing it all wrong. Everything you said.
March
is wrong.
18th. March 18th for
Thank
the
you.
presentation.
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
All right.
Here,
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
here's the one at 7.
At 6:30.
For coming, you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for listening
Yeah,
to us.
thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yes, sir. Did you ever get a hold of Noreen, Spencer?
No.
Okay. All right, no worries.
If she wants to make a comment, raise her hand again, and I can give you access.
Oh, she left. Okay.
No, she's still, oh, she raised her hand again, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, Noreen, can you hear us?
For some reason, I don't know whether you can hear me.
Loud.
So now it appears to be working. I just wanted to point out, we're saying that potentially we don't have enough access for people who want to use the waterfront. It was brought up that we do have AM and PM Beach. I'd also like to point out we have Sofield and North Point Beach. And I don't know when it happened, but the entire spit there along the bulkhead at the marina used to be no dogs allowed. And those signs have come down. And I don't remember seeing anything in the papers when that decision was made. But, that is another opportunity to have an area that is, again, off, not for dogs. And then I wanted to throw out a couple of ideas. You're talking about an expenditure for fencing, and I would want to say that depending on the square footage and how much board fence length is there, it might be appropriate to consider having that fence not be a square or a rectangle, but have that fence actually be along the area that is along the grass to the waterfront. And it seems that might solve both your objectives, where you have the dogs that do have access to the waterfront, and you have an area then where they are more contained. Those were the comments I wanted to make.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And I don't know, everybody was giving their addresses. I don't know if you need mine. It's I'm at 22 Fairway.
That works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Okay, ready to move on? All right, moving on to item number 4 is consent agenda for the approval of the meeting minutes for the February 2026 meeting. Do you have any comments or corrections?
I have corrections.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I have 4 of them. If you go to item number 1, it's the president called for motion to adopt the agenda, and the motion says move to amend the agenda. It should say move to adopt the agenda. We did not amend the agenda.
We did.
I think we did.
Yeah, there was, we took something out.
I don't think so.
We took
Yeah, we
the
took legal
executive
out.
session.
Yeah.
We took legal. I think we might have taken legal out.
But it doesn't say, then if we did amend it, then it should say what that amendment was, and it doesn't say.
It should have said that. You're right.
Okay, so then I have number 6, and I guess I don't know where to put this other than where we had no reports, and Keith, you spoke up about the vacancy that the board had with Joe leaving, and you asked me to make comments, and I made spelled out the details of which is required of the board to basically announce the vacancy and when it's going to be opened, how long it's going to last, that it's going to be, how it's going to be presented so people know there's an opening and stuff. None of that was in the report.
No motion.
And the last,
There was no motion.
There was not a motion on
there
that.
was not a motion, it was just,
Yeah, that's what it was, an announcement.
it was just discussing what the process is for announcing a vacancy by the board. The last thing I have is there was absolutely nothing about the executive session that we went into it, that we voted to go into executive session, that we voted to come out of executive session, that there was no action taken. And the meeting adjournment says 8:07. That's when we went into closed session, executive session. So those are the 4 things.
We didn't have closed session that time. We took it out.
No, we did. I can't even say what we talked about, but there definitely was a closed session.
An update on legal, if we did have a closed session.
Yeah, we had one.
It was an update on legal.
Yeah, this is the one before we took
It was
out.
the one before that, we took out the legal, and then we just gave a quick timeline update and what to do, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying, but we did have an executive session.
You're right.
We did.
That's all I have are those 4 things, but they're all
If you
not
could
there.
what you want the minutes to look like, we'll make the changes, but at this point, I'm confused, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
we need to,
I'll bring them back next
Next
week.
time.
I'll bring them back next week.
we need to change that to adopt. And then we do need to put the coming out of legal.
Okay, so I'll just bring them back. Just,
All right, very good. So the motion is we will bring back our minutes after they are corrected, actually. We don't really need to make a motion, we'll just do that. We'll just do that, yeah. All right, so moving on next, we're gonna move on to, we're gonna bring back the meeting minutes to our next meeting, so we'll look at those again. Moving on, thank you, Linda. Moving on to reports, number 5.
Thank you.
The GM report, Joanne?
Thank you, Keith. February was indeed a busy month at Sun Valley as staff took advantage of the much better than expected weather to work on spring cleaning projects. work was completed to refurbish some trails, to relocate and reorganize our records archive, and to get the golf course ready for another season of play. We also saw lots of residents out taking advantage of sun breaks to visit the trails and the parks. So spring was definitely in the air, unlike this evening. Marina renewals are a very important part of our year. Renewals for returning renters were completed in the last week of February, and staff immediately began to offer open slips to members who were on the waiting list. This year, there were more terminations than in past years, and 16 wet slips were open at the deadline of February 25th. There are still dry slips available as well, and staff are working to fill all the marina rentals by the end of March. I put a table in there to let you see that we do have 16 wet slips that are open, and we have 95 dry slips filled, which means that we have, I believe it's 33 open. And then there's quite a few kayak openings as well. So there is no waiting list for dry slips. Just so everybody knows. So
what's the waiting list like for the wet slips now?
There's a limited number of people who have boats small enough to fit on the inside of the docks. It's always a bit of a Rubik's Cube exercise. So we're working through it. And of course, we'll continue to fill the kayak and canoe storage racks throughout the season. Record archive. In February, members of the board, Timmy and Linda, teamed up with staff to complete the reorganization and relocation of our architectural and accounting records to a new storage area at a lower level of the clubhouse. The move was long overdue. Previously, records had been stored in 2 freight containers that had been moved into the ice barn in 2022. Prior to that, they were outside in Area Z for a brief period, and then before that, they were inside the sprung structure, which at that point was raining inside the sprung structure, so it was not good. In those conditions, the paper records were rapidly deteriorating. In their new location, the records are much more easily accessible, and they're climate controlled. Maintenance supported the project by painting and putting new flooring into the offices that were repurposed to create the archive. They also assembled the file cabinets and built shelves to hold boxed records. Administration ordered everything and is helping to place the records into the new cabinets. Timmy and Linda spent many hours going through the stored materials in the ice barn, getting rid of materials that weren't needed and reorganizing what was left. And really, I do appreciate everyone's effort to contribute to this. We've been wanting to do it for a long time, and it's finally done, so yeehaw.
Thank you, ladies.
Why is it always the women who eat things up? That's a query. Perhaps debate that at our next town meeting. I'm sure that would be. So I'd like to just say a few things about our 2025 overall financial performance. And Joel's the expert. He will dive into those things. But I think there's some very important outcomes that I would like to draw people's attention to, and that's why I inserted them here. It's important to know that expenses, operational expenses, were $36,369 higher than revenue. That means there was a deficit. This shortfall is the result of lower than expected revenue for golf and higher than expected expenses in almost every category. All of the reserve funds have higher net usable balances than last year at this time, so that's very positive. This is something that we expect, we plan for it, because of course we have to build up funds to pay for projects that are scheduled for later in the 10-year plan. Our budget on the capital side is a 10-year view, and sometimes we have big expenses that we need to build the reserves up in order to meet them, those large expenses. But notably, a UDR balance is 23% higher than last year, and this increase can be attributed to collection efforts that were aimed at accounts that were significantly, that is more than $5,000 in arrears. So that's been a productive effort. As previously noted, revenue did exceed budget by 3.8%. So we took in more than we expected, but expenses also exceeded budget by 4.6%. All categories of revenue except for golf met or exceeded their budgeted goal. When you look at expense, salary and benefits was actually under budget by $66,000. But this was offset by an overage of $105,000 in contract and professional services. So although we spent less on internal staff, we continue to need support, and we got that support by buying contracted labor. The only other category to be under budget was maintenance and landscaping. And here's where the lack of snow saved the association $22,685. Yeehaw. Contributing to the category being only $14,587 under budget. So what does this tell us? If we had had a typical snow season, maintenance and landscaping would have been over as well. The line items, of course, with the highest overage to budget are no surprise to anybody. Joel tells us they're over every single month: legal expenses and hazard tree removals. But the very positive thing to note is that in 2026, the budget was significantly increased for both of those categories. So this year, we should be if we work to our budget and keep to it, the potential for a deficit is much lower. Last but not least, I'd like to highlight two things that aren't immediately obvious in the report, in the budget, in the financial statements that we see. And that's because we always compare our financial performance to budget. How are we, doing compared to what we said we would do? But there are two categories of expense that are really not under our control, and that is the cost of utilities, which was $4,734 over budget. So that doesn't seem so bad, but I'd like to point out that it increased by 12% over last year. So even though we had increased our budget, anticipating an increase in the cost of utilities, which it seems like every year that happens, right? We still didn't increase it enough to meet how rapidly the price is increasing. The other thing that went up is insurance premiums. Those were $9,056 over budget, but insurance premiums were 15% higher than last year. Now think about that in an environment where we are limited to a 7% dues increase. What that means over time is more and more of our money is going to those non-personnel items, and we're continuously having to take away from the maintenance of our facility and investing in people to support the association so that we can pay for things like water and natural gas and electricity. So I don't see anything that we can do about those. We are undertaking a project to replace all of our lighting fixtures with LEDs, and PSE anticipates that could save us as much as $10,000 in electric costs over the year, which isn't anything to sneeze at. But water is water. We're lucky we don't have to pay for it for the golf course. Anyway. That's enough, and Joel, of course, will tell you everything else you need to know about the finances. Our capital project status reflects the fact that the board has approved capital funding for several additional projects, all of which are in progress. The turf care tractor replacement has been completed, and I'm happy to say that the turf care building remodel is also complete, and staff is moved back in and very happy with their new facility. Everything else is in progress. For the clubhouse, the contract was awarded and work is expected to begin in March. The golf bridge repairs began on the 4th, and they should be completed, fingers crossed, as of tomorrow. The marina tennis court refurbishment is in the design and permitting phase. We'll have to bring that back to the board for funding before it's put out to bid. The equipment for turf care has been ordered, but will take weeks to come in, and we're working on getting permits for the road repairs, and of course, we can't really do anything until after June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
Yes.
What's the status of the jet equipment?
We have quotes and we're trying to make them comparable. Each of the contractors or vendors of the equipment were asked to tell us what they would suggest for the space. And so they're not immediately comparable in terms of the number of units or the type of equipment that was put in there. So we're trying to figure out how to make the comparison so that we can bring it back to the board. We had hoped to bring it forward at the finance committee meeting next week, but it simply isn't ready. There are too many questions to be answered, so instead we'll look to bring it in April.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, Linda?
Okay.
So Joanne, I wanted to ask, and Joel's there, and it's a good thing. You had surf projects that were open and that were still open. In October, on October 23rd, we approved $56,243 for a new truck for maintenance. And when I look at the December financials, that hasn't had any money expended out of it yet, but I didn't see it on the list as something that's committed money.
The truck was purchased and it was closed out in 25.
Oh, all right. It doesn't, I don't think I see that unless it's on some updated, I don't think we've seen December final numbers yet, but what I could look at, there hadn't been any money spent. And I didn't know if all of it was spent because the truck, the actual price of the truck had come in under budget. So I don't know. I guess Joel will be able to provide us with December financials that'll show that. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any more questions? All right, hearing none. Go on to the financial statements, Mr. Owen.
Okay, so I'm going to be going over the December financial statements, and I'll also answer Linda's question about that truck purchase here in a second as well. Because there's an easy answer to that. But so we always start off with the balance sheet, and then work our way through the income statement. And I'll just hit the high levels of December. That's what we'll do. Joanna already did a pretty good job delving into some of the finer points of the financial statements that contribute to, operating surpluses or deficits. In this case, we have a net operating loss. But starting out, and I already talked about this last month, but you can see I'm highlighting the operating cash on the balance sheet, and I'll just go ahead and unhighlight it. But it's essentially the first line item. So you can see that at the end of December 31, 2024 is around 580,000, just using rounded terms. It's around 494,000 at the end of 2025. Obviously this year we have a net operating loss, so that's already going to naturally drag down cash, just the fact that we have more expenses than revenues. Now, for example, where this kind of became a little more of a stark difference would be at December 2024 last year, we had, before changes were made, in April, actually it was April of 2024, when the board approved to basically, so what I'm talking about is that November bomb cyclone event that occurred in November of 2024, and it really affected November, December in terms of expenses for tree removal and cleanup. And the board created a couple of capital projects back then at that time, roads and surf both. Just long story short, in November and December, those expenses were going to those project codes, those capital project codes. But at the end of December of 2024, we had a $306,000 operating surplus. So then the decision was made at that time, since we had that surplus, and that surplus, obviously that 306,000 is what's really giving us a good $857,000 of operating cash at the end of 2024. But when we made the decision to go ahead and move those expenses from tree cleanup expenses from capital back to operations, then the expense was reclassified out of roads and surf back into operating hazardous tree expense. So meaning then operating, then reimburse roads and serve that equivalent cash to move those expenses around. So at that point, that's basically why there's a decrease of $857,000 at the end of December 31, 2024. Then when those adjustments were made, and it basically dropped cash to around $579,484, which is exactly this amount that you see on the balance sheet. So long story short, when we have things that are expensive, like trees, the trees is a big one. That's the sort of stuff that's going to drag down our operating cash. And unfortunately, there's really nothing we can do about trees. But the good thing is for 2026, we did budget, so the budget has been increased to $250,000 line item for hazardous trees. I'll just go ahead and we're going to go to the next page. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at basically, think about it like the consolidated income statements, all the departments rolled in together. You can see, so looking at this line right here, so there's that, so at the end of December 2025, we have a net operating loss of $36,369, which is actually, it's actually not too bad given everything that happened in 2025. Going into it, especially backing up a couple months ago, it's really hard to project a couple months, before the end of the year. But at that point, to think that we could finish out at $36,369 net operating loss, that's pretty bad from where we were going. That's also credit to Joanne. Like one of the first things she did when she got here was she had a meeting with all the department managers to basically really tell them to tell them to cut back on expenditures.
Stop spending.
Stop spending additional money. And that, absolutely. Because if that wasn't done, this would be a lot worse, at that point. But that has really helped to limit that kind of net operating loss to $36,369, which is great. You can see we ended the year collection rate at 98%. We, as you know, we budgeted for a 95% collection rate for 2025. That's our budget collection rate for 2026. And now you can see it right here. You can see we're better than budget by $89,089 because of that collection rate. If we were exactly at 95% collection rate, then we would be, that $89,089 would be zero, because since we hit the budget. But we're better than budget at $89,000. For SURF, we were better than budget at the end of the year by close to $55,000. For roads, better than budget by close to $56,000. Mailboxes, a little over $1,000. So that is where that coming in better than budget. So you can see that has a real material effect to the bottom line. Joanne's already talked about some of these things, but like, for example, like really, like three kind of notable things would be contract professional services. You can see right there, we're over budget by $105,348, and that's basically attributable to $68,000 over budget for the ACC consultant, and about $57,000 over budget for that HR contract. But keep in mind that HR contract was signed after the 2025 budget process was done. So it never had a chance to even become a part of the budget. So any expenditures in that contract automatically is over budget, so to speak. This CCR mandate, you can see this is over by close to $101,000, and that's legal. And the common cost department legal is $112,000 over budget. Hazardous trees, which is in the regulatory compliance category, that's the last thing really worth mentioning about in terms of expenses. $65,000 over budget. Hazardous trees was over budget for operations by about $57,000. And keep in mind, obviously, you recall that we had a UDR request where we had $100,000 spent for hazardous tree removal out of UDR. So if we did not do that, then the operation part of this, you'd see it $165,000 over budget. Now, in terms of, like, for example, this is the 1 month where you'll see for December. Obviously, this isn't a coincidence, your actual 36,369 loss, your budget is 360,369 over budget. Because now we're looking at the full 12 months at this point. Like I said, at the end of December 2024, we were real close to 306,000 over budget. A lot of that was really attributable as well to building fees being increased. Actually, Joanne, it was Joanne's idea as well to increase those building fees. And those building fees, quite frankly, that really helped bail us out of those hazardous tree expenses for that November bomb cyclone event. Once we made that adjustment in November of it was April 24th, 2025. This is when the board voted to do that. So then at that point, after that was, those expenses were then moved back out of roads and served back into operations. And then, cash would go from operations to reimburse roads and serve. But that's what caused the 306,000 surplus to then drop to 4,512 on an adjusted basis. But that's why we did that, because we had that surplus.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Sure.
So removing a fallen tree is an operational expense. But the expenses that we incurred as a result of the bomb cyclone in 2024 were so significant, we did not have enough cash to pay for it. So we appropriately took funds from capital to do that. However, when we regrouped and saw how the year totally came out, we then understood that we had enough of a surplus in operations so that that money could be taken out of cash in operations and pushed back into our reserves where it belonged. So from an accounting place, it's very complicated, but from a reality we all manage our household budgets place, it's very clear. You have a savings account for a reason. In an emergency, you draw on it. And then as you can, you return those funds. And that's exactly what Sudden Valley did to first respond appropriately to the tree event and then to take care of reserves as appropriate. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Not out of line, but I think praises to go to both of you who made that happen. We handled the cyclone well. The whole community responded on how well it was done. To rock and roll, it was amazing. There was trees all over this place, it was crazy. And then everybody was saying, oh, it's gonna cost us a fortune, so everybody's afraid that there's gonna be an assessment. And there was no assessment. It was huge. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, like Joanne said, when we did the 2025 budget, or now I'm talking about the roads and serve capital budgets, obviously, we did not build into those budgets to pay for hazardous trees. So especially once we saw that we had a good healthy surplus at the end of 2024, then we saw that we could go ahead and reclassify these expenses back into operations, and that way keep certain roads on track. Otherwise, certain roads would start out behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in 2025. So.
Well done.
Yeah. I'm just going to cover a couple more pages since we've already covered quite a bit of this already. But we're looking at the reserve cash balance sheet. You can see right here, and I'll just run through this real quick. Obviously, we start out in this case with the 12/31/2024 cash balance from the balance sheet for SERV. Then we have dues that come in, interest income, some small sales of assets, like golf type equipment. I believe it's a lawnmower. And then we have the 2025 expenditures. So this is basically all the checks that we cut that went out the door, including capital purchases, SERF loan repayment, payments that have been approved to come out of SERF. So that's all a part of that amount. And then now it's easy to see because we don't, this is more of a projection in this category. Our projection is 0 months since we're at the end of the year. So the only thing showing up here is the obligated expenses of $1,023,000. And then looking at the open capital project report right here for SERF, you can see there's the $1,023,000. And this open capital project report, I'll just mention again, because it is a really handy report because it shows you all the projects that are open. And now a lot of these do have red dots because they're marked to be closed. But you can see this, I believe, Linda, you were talking about this maintenance truck, this one?
Yes, sir.
And so this one right here is approved in October of 2025. There is a budget, 56,243. So that's that board approved budget. That was what they spent on it, 35,163, which means that one's better than budget by 21,000. Because I believe that's all there is to it, right, for that truck.
Yeah, I still see that it's open though.
Oh yeah, this one we'll mark this closed when we close out all the fixed assets in preparation for the audit coming up.
Joel, do you think you could post the I don't think you've posted unless you did and it's now, you discussed it at the last finance meeting. I don't think I've seen anywhere where the fourth quarter year ending reports have been posted yet. If you could post those in finance.
Those are posted on the finance committee website.
Okay, I'll go look.
Yeah, so you'll see the full blown December financial report on the finance committee website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Since I'm on this board, I'll just go to roads real quick. St. Joe's roads, all the capital projects are open. But the thing that's handy about this is, and this happens all the time. If there's a question about what the heck if I'll go back to surf. Like if it was, what is this maintenance truck replacement and how much, what were they replacing or whatever exactly? Well, you could just look at the date. It was approved October 23rd, 2025 was approved in that board meeting. So you could go back on the website to that October 23rd's agenda and you could find that exact capital request model with all the information in it. And sometimes I'll do that, like when I look at minutes, because like when this report gets prepared, and I'm trying to determine what was the actual board approved amount. If I thought it could have changed, then I'll compare the minutes with what the capital memo says and whatever. But this second page is roads, exact same thing. Last page on this is the UDR project. So you can see here's the 2024 hazardous tree removal. We used all 100,000 of this and we have none obligated. So there's very little still hanging out on this report. Just a little from Firewise, some from this 2024 GM search. I mean, like the board decided to just shut those down, then we would just deobligate it. And this area Z mitigation that's been hanging out since 2016. But all of those, like for example, there's that 981,410 obligated amount for roads. That came right from that roads report. 13,785 obligated for UDR, that came from that UDR page. And it's, so basically for SURF, once you subtract away the obligated amount, then you have net usable cash of 2.7 million. Then the board recommended carryover balance 600,000. That's the amount that the board would not like to drop below, which means we have a available amount to obligate at 2.1 million. That's exactly how you can read it. It's the same for SURF roads, mailboxes. Board density reduction, you can see that's where the money went into from the sale of the two lots, one lot in October sale, one in November. You can see that's the net proceeds, the net cash that we took in, and it's the Sun Valley policy that money from lot sales is deposited into board density reduction. So that's why it's in this fund. But bottom line for this, SURF is at 2.1 million net usable amount at the end of the year. At the end of 2024, it was 1.72 million. So we're up, from 2025. Roads was 1.5 million at the end of 2024. Is 1.46 million. So we're up a little. Obviously, we know for a fact we'll be up on board density reduction because of the slot sales. It was 87,000 last year. Mailbox, obviously, this is 179. It was 152,000 years before. Emergency ops really won't change at all except for interest income coming into this. UDR, it's at 301,000. Last year it was at 275,000. And that's right, UDR, like I said, and I'll just repeat it real fast. How money gets into this UDR is from now that we're in 2026, someone is paying their dues that were owed in 2025, like December dues, November, October dues, whatever. The operating portion of 2025 dues or before gets deposited into UDR. The surf and roads and mailbox portions of dues always go into the surf roads mailboxes funds, but so this is just the operating portion of prior year dues or before. And like, for example, when collections proceedings, like when people have passed through accounts, like Joanne mentioned, when they make payments to that, then it's deposited into UDR. Obviously, it's the operating portion of it that gets in there. When they make payment, when they zero out their account from, let's just say they owe 5 years worth of dues, then 5 years past operating dues from 2025 and earlier goes into UDR, and the SERP portion, roads portions go into those respective accounts as well. Now, the last thing we will hit on real fast, Joanne already kind of talked about this. We're looking at the income statement. This breaks it down by department, so you can see what department contributed to that $36,369 net operating loss. We'll hit on golf because we always talk about golf. So we're looking at the year to date. The prior page is just for the month, if you wanted to look at that. So you can see right here that golf has $1.412 million in revenue. At the end of December 2024 is $1,424,000. So the revenue, like it shows right on the income statement, is down by, well, the income statement shows it to budget. So I'm talking about year over year from December 2025 year to date to December 2024 year to date. They were down 12,432 year over year. The expenditures on golf, which is this actual salary benefits, $863,000, and all other expenses, approximately $462,000. So those two come out to $1.32 million. The year before that, they had $1.26 million in expenses. Obviously, we expect the expenses to go up. So their expenses is up $60,109 year over year from December 2024. Revenues are down $12,432. And then that's basically those two main elements. This is what's giving you a net income of $87,297 for golf. Last year, at the end of December 2024, was $159,838. So that's a decrease year over year of $72,541. And like I said, we already talked about what makes up that decrease of $72,541 is increase of expenditures at $60,109, decrease of revenues $12,432 year over year. Marina, I guess we can talk about this real quick. There's not a huge difference on Marina. You can see 2024 they took in $244,443. End of December 2024 year to date is $248,110. So they were about $3,667 less, real close anyways from the previous year. But net income for Marina, $224,296. Last year is $233,726. So they're within about $9,400 less than December 2024. But I would say overall, those are the main points of the 2025 financial statements.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, you wanna go, Ray?
When I look at the swimming pool, the amount of revenue versus the actual cost, it's pretty major in the negative.
Oh, yeah.
Like it never probably has ever paid for itself in 1 year.
No,
not even close.
So this is pretty standard.
Yes, oh yes, that's expected for the pool.
It's kind of a luxury item.
It is, yeah, it's yeah, you can just think about it as an amenity. You know, it's one of the amenities of Southern Valley, so that one is definitely not we're not gonna defray dues, you know, with these swimming pool. That's
yeah, it's costly.
Yeah, it is.
Linda?
I just wanted to make a couple comments that I think we always should point out that between golf and marina for the full year, they both netted $311,593 that did not have to be paid by any of the owners. That was that they actually, they supplemented our income. You know, yeah, we had a bad outcome, but they supplemented it. The other question I have for Joel is I remember last year and into this year, we had that huge increase from insurance. And I'm wondering if the one that we've gotten now moving forward, if that's within the things you figured out and percentages you figured out for the 2026 budget.
Yeah, the increase in the insurance renewals in 2025 in June, that was definitely one of the elements of the projected increase or budget increase for insurance. So it swept in all of those increased costs and bumped it up. It was at least 10% on top of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that this year, hopefully, we didn't see another huge increase like that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'd like to note that Linda's absolutely correct. If you look on an operational only basis, that both the golf course and the marina contribute positively. However, if you look at what is spent in capital, golf had a surplus of about 87,000, the operational profit of about 87,000. Well, in the last 2 months alone, we've approved almost $300,000 worth of capital to be spent on equipment to maintain the golf course. So you have to look at it as a whole picture. You can't just look at it operationally.
This expense that we're doing this year, I mean, those are machines and equipment that's gonna go for like seven years or so. So it'll work out.
Yes, unfortunately though, every year there are assets that are replaced in golf. So in no single year does it ever contribute positively to our income. It is absolutely a drain on overall.
Yeah, so is it pool.
And absolutely rec and the pool is, and the marina. Absolutely.
The marina?
Yes, of course.
Pool was almost 500,000, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
it was like 500,000.
Well, right now, we're not spending money on the marina, but there is in the future a large amount budgeted to replace the docks.
Yeah.
So this is what we're set up to do. We collect dues and other revenues, and then we maintain the assets of the association. But it's none of the amenities that we manage is profitable from a business perspective. From an operational perspective, they contribute positively to operational budgets. But when you take out what you spend on the capital elements to support those amenities, they don't make money.
Yeah, by the way, that $455,000 net loss, that's not just pools, that's all of recreation.
That's all of it.
Yeah, that's all of rec and pools. Yeah.
Oh.
Rec pools,
Yeah.
rec pools and park, but
Yeah.
just.
Yes.
I just want to make a quick comment, but our amenities that we have, as they were originally set up, were not set there to be profit centers.
Yeah.
They are our amenities, and an amenity just by definition is something, that's there for us to use, not there for us to make, we're not in the business to make money. They're amenities for our property owners, and our dues are there to support amenities.
Right.
Just to clarify.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, our dues aren't going up fast enough to cover the cost as these expenses continue to climb.
Correct.
And
And
our
we're
hands seem to be tied.
tied by that 7%. So eventually something might have to give.
If something's gonna happen.
Any other questions, comments?
What's- Well, it's good to look at the whole year. The month, I may not lose track, but this is the real story. You can give it is here, Joel. This is March. So we're looking at the real story
Yeah.
of last year.
Oh, yeah, you're looking at the entire year. And then now you can look at the whole year and look at it according to what the budget was, you know, for that entire year.
Right. It's just- Now that it's doing the financial committee, you gotta think about the numbers. It's like, whoa, yeah. It's not a great financial save.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to committee reports. We'll start out with Daniel.
Nothing really to share, just plugging on and doing our stuff. Meeting again next Tuesday, and we'll probably spend an hour and a half touring properties, maybe a half hour discussing our agenda, and then Thursday, 5 o'clock, we'll meet here again. And, we had a big turnout last time we had our meeting. I don't know what happened, we weren't giving out candy or anything, but there were a lot of people that turned out.
Still kind of slow, or it sounds like it's picking up a little bit?
It's picking up very slowly. I expected more by now. There's not a lot yet.
Oh, good. Careful, yeah, that's good. All right, document review. Have anything?
We have our first meeting on Wednesday next week. We had to change the time. Last year, we got blessed with our time from last year, which was a starting time of 3 p.m. For me, I have obligations. I think Timey does too. Anne has basically confirmed that she can also meet. I haven't heard from Mitch yet. We had Lish Jamtas resign from the committee, but I think given the information I've gotten from Joanne and that I will share with the committee, I think 4 of us are going to be able to handle the things that we're going to have to deal with as it applies to Wakiowa and things that we're probably going to be preparing and getting ready for the November AGM.
Thank you, Linda. Finance?
Yeah, it's sort of just the standard capital requested from us last week. We had 6 of them, and that were recommended for the board to consider, and all 6 of them were considered and passed by the board. That's pretty much what we did last week, and we'll look at some more next week.
Nice to meet you, Gene. Long range planning?
We haven't had a meeting since January, but I do have a name to put forward if I could do that now. That will make our committee completely full. We can't take any more people. I have Michael DeVolio has put his name in, and he is vetted. So I'd like to put him forward as our last member of our committee.
Is all in favor of Michael DeVolio being appointed to the Long Range Planning Committee?
Aye.
Does he have any dog experience?
I don't know.
He's my neighbor, he doesn't have dogs right now. So.
Oh, you're wrong.
All right, nominations and elections committee, Linda?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. So we had our meeting on Monday, and it was a long meeting. I submitted to the board, and I don't expect I'm going to get an answer back tonight, but I might. There was a motion and a request that the committee had to the board, an attorney if necessary, to completely, how do I say it, clarify the how N&E is going to work and that sort of thing. I think there was a little bit of discussion this year early on and when we were first forming committees, and they just would really like before they select a chair, they want to be able to know that the chair is going to be able to sit at the board. And there's a long list of things. And as I say, I understand if I'm not going to get an answer and the committee isn't going to get an answer until the second meeting on the 26th. We don't meet again until the 30th of this month. However, the reason that we'd like that clarification when we can get it, we have met, or the board has met, the requirement of having at least 2 candidates. It has to be one more than the vacancy. So we have those, but the whole application time is open until the 30th and closes on the 30th at the end of the workday. I'm proposing that with the first meeting in April, the board plan on interviewing the candidates that we have, and you'll have the information on them provided to you beforehand, and hopefully we will have a chair of N&E that will handle that whole process at that time.
Thank you, Linda. We have a response for you from legal.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put the.
Would you like me to?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
If you want it in writing, I understand that, because it would be something you can certainly speak to it, but it would be nice to have something in writing too that I can just simply submit to all of them to review.
You just want to send it to her?
No.
Okay.
I mean, there would have to be.
Right.
Okay, so there is no reason, this is from our counsel, Richard Davis. There is no reason based on legislation that the elected chair is a non-voting member of the board. There's no prohibition against that in any of the legislation. So if it pleases the board that the N&E committee will continue to operate in that way, then all of those first 4 bullet points are yeses. But the board.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's no concerns there. Regarding the 4 bullet points in the second part of your memo, Richard has rewritten the statements to be more accurate. So where Linda, your memo, or the N&E committee's memo says addressing board vacancies, soliciting candidates for board vacancies. That's what you do. Coordinating the annual general meeting, that is actually preparing a draft of the election booklet and ballot for board review and approval.
Yep.
Managing updates to the manual, drafting updates to the nominations and elections manual to comply with Washington Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act requirements. Oversight of voting processes is coordinating committee member and volunteer participation in board approved activities to facilitate the annual election. And those are the 4 functions of the committee, and there is no limitation on that. There's no need to have 2 board members on the committee, because everything that the N&E committee does is referred back to the board for final approval. So all the members of the committee can vote and function as equals on that committee, and their work product is referred back to the board for eventual approval.
Thank you.
And then you'll send that over.
Sure.
So you'll get a written copy of that.
Thank you. I've been trying to keep them really up to date on things, because as I say, we had a long meeting and a lot of discussion, and like I say, Wakayawa only makes our lives much more interesting for everybody.
Interesting way to say it. All right, we'll move on to safety. Tom, did you have anything?
I do have a new member to submit. She has been vetted. Her name is Maria Henderson.
She has been vetted, you said?
Yes. Maria Henderson.
Okay. Favor Maria Henderson being appointed to the safety committee. That's unanimous.
And with that being said, we have not met, and I don't see a meeting in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Not very big.
Sorry?
He sounds safe.
Can't get them to agree on a different time.
All right, continuing business, we had committee business. Kind of discussed it.
Yeah, you all did it during your reports.
Yep, we did that ahead of time, so that's fine. Any question? No, I thought I heard someone, sorry. Okay, moving on to B, continuing business B or 6B, Barney functional uses and summary of actions to date. This is kind of just gonna go over the functionality of what we all use Barney for, and we have, Joanne had a slide that I'd like to see. Watch her do it. Yeah.
All right, so, very quick set of slides here, just to review what has been done in terms of studies of the barn, and then talk a little bit about how we actually use Barn 8 today. As everyone knows, Barn 8 is the centerpiece of our recreation corridor, and it houses the recreation offices, the dance barn, the fitness center, meeting rooms, and very importantly, pool mechanicals. So all of the working parts of the pool, the filters, the heaters, the pumps, all that good stuff. I lump that all into mechanicals. The building was not designed to hold all of these different activities. Instead, it has grown over time and is currently a patchwork of rooms, different systems and structures, many of which are considered and shown to be by experts inadequate. There's been a lot of disagreement about the structural condition of Barn 8, which has prevented the association from completing projects to improve or even maintain the building. This presentation summarizes what we know about the building, its condition, and the cost of repair, and then go on to examine how we use the barn today and the practical considerations that will influence decision-making about how we move forward. A history of the buildings that make up SPCA's recreation corridor was published in 2014. At that time, there were 3 barns: the ice barn, which is barn 6, the mid barn, which is not a very good name, barn 7.
It was in the middle.
And the dance barn. That report tells us when the barns were actually built. Staff from SPCA went to the county assessor's office and examined records directly to put this report together. It's actually fascinating. It's posted to the website, so everyone can reference it and look at it. Everyone in the community can see it as well. There's full transparency about all this information that we're talking about. But this excerpt says, the earliest available aerial photo at the assessor's office is dated 1961, and it shows the parcel where the barns are located. It clearly shows the mid barn, but neither of the other 2 barns. So barns 6 and 8 were younger than that middle barn. Chronologically, the next available photo is from 1969, and at that time, all 3 of the barns were here. Okay, so the barns are a little younger than me, which is disappointing, really. And because I was thinking of myself as vintage. But anyway, that's the link. If you go to sunvalley.com/board/, and scroll down, there is a link to all of these different reports right there. Okay, so that's where people can go.
Joanne?
Yes, sir.
Were these barns built by the original ranch owner?
Yes. And that's what we have here, original use. The property now owned by Sun Valley was originally a working ranch, and the barns were built as agricultural storage and animal housing. Barns 6 and 7 were built as traditional pole barns, with long vertical poles that were sunk into the ground to hold up the structure. This construction method contributed to the decay of barn 7, which was torn down in 2013 or 14. It's unclear to me exactly when it happened. Many of the poles in barn 6 have rotted, making it necessary to tear it down also. Barn 8, though, has a partial foundation. Repairing and adding to that foundation is one of the structural repairs that was recommended by Kingworks Engineering in 2024. Okay, so this is the small print, and I apologize. Oh, small.
Wow.
So this lists out, it's bigger on the slide, really. All the different reports we've had and what we learned. So in October of 2013, a company called AIRO, A-I-R-O, did a property condition assessment. And it looked at all of the buildings here, not just the barns. But the evaluation they did of barn 6 noted that many of the posts holding up the structure were rotted and that the roof needed to be replaced. The barn 8 evaluation noted that the barn was in good to fair condition, but multiple issues existed with both the flat roof and the siding. So what happened as a result of that? Well, as a result of that condition assessment, a decision was made not to go forward with roof repairs on barn 6. They had previously been budgeted and scheduled, but they decided not to do it because the high cost of replacing the rotted posts meant it was sort of pointless to replace the roof if you couldn't fix the posts. However, no repairs were made to barn 8. So the next report that we have is from 2017, and it was done by Wilson Engineering, and it included a separate report done by K Engineers that was an inspection of the electrical systems in barn 8. And that report, if you read it, identifies shortcomings in our electrical system here in the barn, specifically in the fitness center. And it recommends that the panel be upgraded in order to supply enough electricity. Well, I was curious about that. And so I asked Mike Brock to review the report and then take a look at the panel, and it has not been upgraded. It is exactly what was examined in 2017 and determined to be inadequate. However, we do not have the electrical issues that gave rise to the need for that report. At the time, they were having breakers flip off, and that does not happen anymore in the fitness center. So at the current time, although it was deemed inadequate in 2017, at this time, we are not experiencing those symptoms.
We don't know why.
I actually think the more modern equipment is more power, it consumes less power. And that seems sensible, right? I mean, it's quite a long time. Anyway, here's the statement that Wilson Engineering included in their March 2017 report. The building, from a structural point of view, is capable of being revitalized and repurposed. So what was the outcome of those reports? Well, none of the recommended repairs were made. And that Wilson Engineering report is interesting because they say there's a letter that says, yeah, we can revitalize it. And then it goes on to identify a bunch of improvements and repairs that they give a cost to, and it was several million, 2.9, no, that was the later one, 1.9 million. Well, the money wasn't spent at that time, so the barn remains in the same shape as it was prior to those reports being written.
In 2017.
In 2017, which is a long time ago. 7 years, no, 9 years. Okay, January 2020. This is when KingWorks comes into the picture. They wrote a report based on what they knew about the construction of barn 7, which they had done a deep analysis on. And they clearly state that in their report. But here's what they said in 2020. It is our opinion that if the community would like to have significant changes or change of occupancy with regard to barn 8, the structure is most likely cheaper to demolish and rebuild rather than trying to bring the existing structure up to code compliant loads. As a result of that report, the board decided in 2024 to commission a full structural evaluation to confirm or contradict the findings of that 2020 report. Okay, and again, that report from 2020 is posted on the website, and anybody can take a look at it and see what was said.
It's actually important that you do that because that report actually based a lot of their findings on the prior reports that were done.
Correct.
That's why the forensic study was required.
Yeah. So in November of 2024, KingWorks did a full structural evaluation. And during that, perhaps some of you remember, we actually removed about 10% of the surface finishes from inside and outside the barn so that a significant percentage of the structural members could be observed directly. So we weren't guessing anymore, we were taking a look. And that report included 16 recommendations for improving the structural performance of barn 8. And here's a quote. In our opinion, appropriate factors of safety are not available to protect the structure from future damage or failure In the event of extreme load events like high occupancy loads, severe wind events or earthquakes, or in the event that hidden defects or damage are exacerbated. At that time, as a result of hearing the report from Kingworks, the board instructed the Long Range Planning Committee to propose a plan to address the issues of barns 6 and 8. Well, the Long Range Planning did address those, and they made a presentation in July of last year, holding a town hall meeting that shared a conceptual design for the replacement of barn 6 with the community. The community feedback at that time was that a simpler replacement for barn 6 was more desirable. They didn't want to create a large building at a high cost. And so the committee and the board had scaled back the design and submitted a pre-application to Whatcom County to get their feedback about that streamlined design for a pavilion. And that's where we are at this moment. Everybody good with that? Anything to add or subtract?
And so at this point, the preliminary, not the sample plans or whatever the technical word is at the county, and we're just waiting for their feedback.
We already have their feedback.
Okay.
And everything's fine, we're good to move forward with the project. So the next thing was to go back to Carletti and Associates to start working together to get a price on that. We've heard back from them, and actually I got an email today, and he's currently working on that right now.
Do we have we shared, is it posted anywhere, anything, the design? I must have missed that or something.
Yeah, the design was the original from the barn 6. We saw that foot.
The original, isn't that the one that was like?
Just a sport court?
Yeah, it was the original design from the one that was.
The one that was presented?
That one that was presented.
Okay.
And we never really got a new drawing for an enclosed pavilion, but we did get a number from the architect for 2.8, which we did present to the neighborhood. So it was that second town meeting, there was a number presented already.
So it was the original design that were submitted?
No. No, the original design was a 2-story barn with the big deck and all that. All that's gone away. It's just basically an enclosed pavilion now. It's just to cover the footprint that's existing there now. Have a sport court on the inside with like a couple offices and the core restrooms, fire riser room, utility room.
So are these plans somewhere for the community to see?
No, that is why it's back at Carletti now for them to move forward. So we'll be getting a number from them. We also need to get a soils report, which is what I wanted to find out if we had an old soils report available with all the work that was done for the barn 7 and stuff like that.
So that plan, after it comes back from the architect, that's when the plans will be presented to the board?
Yeah, it's gonna be a pre-engineered structure. So yes, we're actually looking now to find a general contractor to work with as a design build. That's the cheapest way to proceed with it, to do a design build, pre-engineered structure.
Yeah.
So did you have something to add?
Yeah, so Carletti's gonna put some new drawings together for barn 6.
Yes.
Okay, so they're working on that.
Well, they're not working on the drawings yet. Right now, we need to get the soils report and figure out what general contractor we're going with. It will be a pre-engineered building, so there's not a lot for him to design in that way, but the interior design is what they need to do. We do know the county required it to be insulated. There's gonna be commercial heat for the open area. There's some things like that we have to deal with. Parking, the fire riser, we got the fire sprinkler building. So there's a lot to it, but.
Right. So a concept was submitted to the county, and then the county told us what would be required to submit the full application for a permit and what the requirements would be as Keith just outlined. So understanding that, now a plan can be made and those materials put together so that the proposal can be put out there for how much it would cost, et cetera, et cetera.
But we did have an estimated cost at 2.8, which we presented to the community.
things changed, right? So between that and we went back to the county, right? So other groups can.
So whatever needs to be encompassed in the new design, that's what's happening now with the new modifications that the county is asking for.
Yeah, so it's basically the floor plan that we looked at before, right? Just a sports court in there.
Yes.
There's no big kitchen, there's none of that kind of stuff, yeah.
The office and restrooms, there's.
So keep in mind that price he gave at the time had that kitchen in there, it had the, whatever that serving area was and stuff like that, that is no longer in there. So that's why I wouldn't say 2.8 because hopefully it'll be less than that is our goal.
Right. And we don't know, we're in the development phase for the project, but the feedback from the county has been received. And now we're going to the next step, which is to put together a fleshed out concept, get ideas of pricing and begin to gather other information that the county requires. Parking spaces, the soils report, all that stuff. It's complicated, right? But many people have asked me, we were talking about Barn 8, and now suddenly we're talking about Barn 6. What's going on? And what's going on is that Barn 6 has been an issue since 2013, when we had that original study done. And the decision was made, shoot, we don't have the money, it's too expensive to fix this, so we're not gonna fix the roof. We really need to replace it. And nothing was done since 2013 when that decision was made. At this point, we're looking at some extensive repair work to make Barn 8 to keep it in its current use, okay? And those were the recommendations made by Kingworks as a result of their full structural analysis. And they were brought back to the board, and a price for that was put at about 3.9 million.
Without, that was missing some things, but yeah.
But so let's say $4 million.
It was 4.2.
Right? So people are confused, and so that's why we're reviewing the story, okay, to understand where we're at and why decisions were made. And the slide that I'm showing you now, it looks sort of like an electrical circuit board, but what it is from a distance without my glasses, that's what it looks like. But what it is a floor plan of the first floor of Barn 8, and it's color coded. Obviously we have the rec front desk and rec offices, and those are, I think that's red, and then we have restrooms in blue. There's a game room and a play space. Everybody can see up here, I think. So this area in red right here is basically staff, where we have our offices and our records and where we serve customers. Then we have the restrooms, main restrooms here, and obviously there's also restrooms in the locker room, women's showers and toilets, men's showers and toilets. But these are like the public restrooms. Then we have 2 play spaces, the teen room, which has the billiards table and some other things in there, and we have this youth craft room, which is called the Sunshine Room. It's called youth craft room here. We have meeting spaces. We have a multi-purpose room, which is what we're in right now. And we also have a little room that's set up with a table and chairs that clubs use. People play cards in there. It's available to reserve and use. Then we have the fitness center, which is here in purple, which is probably more floor space, or at least an equal floor space to the other big user of space, which is the women's showers and the locker room right here, okay? Where are the pool mechanicals? There's chemical equipment here and filtering, and then the main pool mechanicals are back here, the heater, the pumps, and electrical service is all back here. So what happens in this building? We have about 15 different clubs, 12 to 15 different clubs that meet here on a regular basis. They use sometimes the lobby. We have a knitting club and they sit in the lobby. The arts people get together here and they also use the lobby, and they share their work in the changing displays that are constantly refreshed here in the lobby and in the clubhouse lobby as well. In addition to those clubs, we also offer meeting space for the scouts. And we do that free of charge to them, even though they're not an official Sudden Valley Club, because they can't be registered Scouts. We have a constant flow of people in the mornings and evenings using the fitness center. And I have some numbers to share with you about the average swipes per day for the different months of the year. And then, of course, our use of the facilities dramatically increases when the pool opens, because you must shower before you go and use a public pool, and the entry to the pool is through the locker rooms. We, in addition to having the swim lessons, we have a swim team that rents the pool from us most weekday mornings, and we get compensation for that. We rent it to them. And then, of course, we have open swim, and last year we also had water aerobics again. In addition to just people using the fitness center here, we also have contracts with a couple of different exercise instructors who give us a portion of the revenues that they earn by meeting clients here in our space. Some of those are personal trainers, and they'll work one-on-one with people in the fitness center. A lot of what they do, though, is classes. We have a contract with a yoga instructor, and we have a contract with two different fitness instructors who all hold classes here in the multi-purpose room. So those are all of the different uses that this building is put to. If we were to embark on the $4.2 million worth of recommended improvements to the building and routine maintenance, because that includes both structural work and the replacement of the siding, the roof, and the windows, and some other things, upgrade of the electric. If we were to do that, all of those activities are displaced, right? We do have other areas of the association that could be used to replace some of this, but not all. We have these two big meeting spaces. Meetings of clubs could be shifted to the meeting space in the adult center that's next to the library. We also have a meeting space in the Welcome Center, but it's not ADA accessible. It's that second floor. But that's another place that people, if it was appropriate for them, could choose to meet. That's basically what we have right now. So that's a significant reduction in space. And it's not appropriate for any of the classes, fitness classes that take place here. If we think about the second floor, the dance barn, this is our large meeting area. And we hold events in this area that can't be held anywhere else in our current facility. So if we embark on a project to renovate this, the dance barn would become unavailable. We would need to rent a facility to hold our annual general meeting. And we would not be able to have the holiday market, the tree lighting, all these other events that the community has come to appreciate and participate in. And that's why the pavilion came into the conversation when we were talking about making the improvements to Barn 8. What the pavilion doesn't address, however, is the pool mechanicals. And keeping the pool operational for that short summer season is very important. So if and when the repairs to Barn 8 are completed, the work would have to be phased so that the pool mechanicals the work on that portion of the building could be completed out of season. So having a pavilion with a large enclosed space that could be used for the annual general meeting, for all those other events that have become such a tradition within the community, as well as a place to conduct exercise classes and to potentially house a subset of the equipment that will be in the fitness center while this building is being constructed. That would be a great way to get over this period of time when this building, Barn 8, is shut down for the improvements. Okay, so when you think about what we do here and where else could we do it, the big gaps are a large meeting space and the fitness center. And while we could find other venues, we could have our annual general meeting at a hotel in town. Or Kiowa gives us the ability to hold it virtually, which happened during COVID and worked just fine, right? So we could do all of that, but we have nowhere to to replace the fitness center. And remember, for those of you who were on the board when this presentation was made last January, it's estimated that it would be about 66 weeks for the repairs plus 31 weeks for the siding and roofing improvements. And some portion of that could be done at the same time, but there will inevitably be construction delays, and so you're looking at a 2-year closure for this barn. So that is the story. That's what we know. That's what we're trying to figure out how to fit together and make a plan to go forward. We've known, the association has known since the 2000s, and in fact, Linda found a set of plans dated 2000 that showed some of the recommended improvements to be made to the dance barn. As far back as 24 years ago, we knew that these things needed to be done, but no one could figure out how exactly to do it in the most cost-effective way without disrupting the association. So it's not easy, it's not straightforward, and there are many questions in everybody's minds. But this small amount of information and the references to all those lengthy, expensive, engineer-stamped reports demonstrate that there is a logical progression here, even though it's taken place over time, and that we are at a very important place to make the right decision to move forward and how to move forward. So thank you for listening to that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that we all needed it, but I know that many members in the community have asked for this, and hopefully they'll take advantage.
Very good, Joanne, thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I think I see.
Okay, I'm sorry, we'll go Ray first and then we'll.
Well, just from here, what goes on in this building, and then to reduplicate what happens in there, that it's even more important that the enclosed pavilion happen, so we will have some place to transition to carry on. So that definitely is what we're in motion, and we're in progress of getting plans from the architect to go forward. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah, I think I see an occupancy load on the second floor. Is that 200?
You're looking at it with your vintage eyes? I don't know.
And it looks like 200.
I wouldn't take that number, Tom. There's
Yeah.
a better number that was calculated after the full structural analysis. So that's the report that I would look at. And was it 60 pounds per square foot?
Yeah, that's what's up there now, yeah. The
I just
light
wonder if we ever get close to that.
No. To exceed that, you need to have 25 people in a 10 by 10 foot space. So imagine an elevator in a high rise, about 10 by 10, and smooshing 25 people into it.
Done it.
That's what it would take to meet, not to exceed, but to meet the current floor load.
And then secondly, are we looking at two possibilities for Barn 8, a repair and upgrade, or is there still a possibility of a tear down and rebuild?
Well, that's a good question. The way we don't know. That's something the board has to decide. What's the best way to go? That's always going to be a problem. It was go in progression, right? We got to figure out what we're going to do in the meantime to address this one. So once we make a decision on the pavilion or tear it down and do nothing, then we have to really focus on what we're going to do here. Either way, we have to focus on what we're going to do here. If we proceed with the pavilion, the next thing we do is start, okay, what are we gonna do here? Cause that's gonna take some time, and then we need to figure out, are we gonna tear this down, start over? Put something in a smaller footprint here since we have a pavilion, or do we just reconfigure the space utilizing the same footprint, because we can do that through the county, we can keep the same footprint, we can make this place far more ADA accessible. Others, we can make the ceiling 10 foot or 12 foot high down here, there's lots for other uses and things like that. Maybe we have a teen space, you know, a senior space, there's all kinds of things we can do here. We just revision this same footprint just differently, you know?
Okay, gotcha.
But we don't know till we get numbers.
Right. And to give you a sense for the usage of the barn, there's an average of about a baseline of 100 scans per day as a baseline for the year. We never dip below that.
So the card readers.
Right.
100 times.
Right. And you can imagine that that's not 100% accurate, because sometimes two people come to work out together and one scans and they both go in. But it's actually a good way to think about the volume. Is our baseline is 100 scans. In the summer months, in April, we start to climb up. We're at 126 scans a day. June, 173. July, 197. August, 171. And we also know, so we're adding in a peak 100 extra scans a day for the pool traffic, and almost no one goes swimming by themselves.
Yeah.
You have groups of moms and kids, parents and family, friends showing up at the pool. So that additional 100 scans, you can times 2 or 3 or 2.5 if you want to be crazy. And so that's the number of people that go through the fitness center every day. Doesn't count the people that come here to meet their friends in the lobby or to use the large facility upstairs in the dance farm. So that's relatively significant flow.
Yeah, it's a good involvement in the community. It gets used.
Sure does. All right, so sorry for taking so long.
No, that's good. Very important.
Good information.
Are you finished?
Oh,
go ahead, Linda.
I was just gonna say, I think the thing that's important to remember about all these engineering reports is many of them clearly state that their investigation and their assumptions, other than the last one in 2024, actually was able to take things apart and actually look at a limited number of real issues that exist, where all the rest of them clearly state that it's just based on other prior reports. I think there was one of the companies that actually had some older drawings that they were showing. But other than that, you know, we've only had this 2024 one that's really, really looked hard and took things apart and really looked at it. And I think that's important to remember. That's all.
Very good. Good point.
You know,
all right.
They must have had a good board at that time to order an investigation. Invasive. Looking at the structure. I mean, really, that was the smartest move that we made to really check it out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for that plug. All right. Moving on to new business. Item number 7, request for approval for the 2025 audit and tax engagement letters. Joanne or Joel? Who's got this one? Joel?
Okay, so what you have in your agenda packet is you have 2 separate letters. One for the audit, another one for the tax return for the year end 2025. So basically, when we sign for these things, we'll sign for both of them at the same time. And this is from Larson Gross, our current auditors, and they performed the audit last year and the year before that. And basically, they performed their audits back to 2018, I believe. This is before I came here, but it was for the year in 2018 where we used a different auditor. Then in 2019 we re-engaged Larson Gross. So Larson Gross has audited us ever since fiscal year in 2019. And so basically, this is a refresh basically just to sign the engagement letters for both the tax and the audit for 2025. And I do, so on the operating budget, under the accounting budget for 2026, there's, for audit and tax services, it includes a total of $50,500 for 2026. Now, of that 50,500, 45,000 of that is earmarked for audit and tax services. So the audit, so the fee on the audit engagement letter is 39,000 stated fee. The tax engagement letter is, that's always on an hourly basis, but definitely with 39,000, that still gives us 6,000 for the tax return. I don't assume it would be that much, but this definitely tracks with our budget for both these engagement letters. Does anyone have any questions about?
Dean, did you guys look at this? You did. And you good with the estimate?
Oh, yeah, Larson Gross has, well, their work is exemplary. They already know us, so they're able to do it more quickly, so we have an advantageous price as opposed to going with a new vendor. As Joel said, it would be nonsensical to do these two things with separate vendors, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be possible, and so there's no reason not to go forward with these guys.
Yeah, the tax aspect of this kind of is leveraged from the audit work. So for example, like, you know, the entire trial balance that the auditors will have at Larson Gross on their end, the whole trial balance, the audited trial balance, their tax side of it basically takes that trial balance, you know, and they leverage off this off the audited trial balance. So it's more efficient for one firm to do both than for another firm to come in and do the tax but not the audit.
I'll read the motion.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, you have a question, Gene.
So can you kind of explain what a level 3 reserve study actually does? I mean, they're not looking at assets, so.
That one's the reserve study one. I can answer that now, but you want me to answer that on the next?
Oh, sure, maybe the next one, sorry. I have them out of order, I guess. Okay, yeah.
Linda?
Okay, 2 questions. So last year we had 49,000 in there for the reserve study, the taxes and the audit. And actually by the end of the year, if I'm looking at the December financials, we ended up going $4,096 over budget. So, and the thing that upsets me is we've got this baseline for the audit for this year for 39, but they're just going to give us time and materials on the taxes, but they don't give us any of their rates for the people that are going to be working on our taxes. And if our reserves if the reserve study is going to cost us, well, $5,300, we've got $6,200. Is that going to cover all of our taxes?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That would be surprising for that to go over that amount.
Okay, I'm just saying we went over last year. Also, are they gonna, I know we never get put on the early schedule, so I'm assuming we're gonna take an extension again this year?
Well, are you talking about the tax return? I take it?
Yeah, it's like, well, we hardly ever file real early. They always put us on and they file for an extension for us at tax time.
Yeah, that is standard procedure with audit and tax.
That's what I'm saying. That's a given. I know it's just hard because we always get it really late at the end of the year and we have to squeeze in their presentation.
Yes, so with the tax return, so with the extension that will be filed, then that pushes our due date for the tax return to November 15th of the year.
Yep.
And that's
I'm just saying, because normally that pushes any of our accounting from them and their yearly summary to October, and it's usually that last meeting of October. It's just, I really wish they could do it earlier than that, so we weren't just right up against it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? Ray?
Joel, do you have any family members that work for Larson Gross?
No.
Any conflicts of interest?
They're checking your work, so.
No. Yeah, and actually, that would be a conflict of interest.
Yes, it would be.
So someone at the firm would have to divulge that, that they know me.
I asked you, so you told me no.
Like I've had to do that before, like, for example, when I was an auditor for Moss Adams, a certain client was, someone there who was, the CEO was a family friend, so like divulged that since I was being placed on the audit.
I have CPAs in the family, I understand the rules.
Yep, no, that's a good question.
I'm gonna read the motion. Move that the board of directors approves the signing of Larson's Gross 2025 audit and federal tax return engagement letters with all fees to be paid from operations, and to further authorize Finance Director Joel to sign these separate agreement letters.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, moving on to the next request is for the approval for the 2026 reserve study. Joel?
Okay, so this reserve study, last year we had a level 2 reserve study, which is an on-site visit. And just a quick background for Smart Property. So we engaged Smart Property. You have level 1 reserve study in 2022. Of course, when it comes to reserve study, it gets a little confusing when I talk about years. So, for example, this, so we're asking for a, for the board to approve to accept the 2026 level 3 reserve study, and it'll be for the budget year 2027. So it's like we're always working 1 year in advance, so to speak. So in 2022, Smart Property did a level 1 reserve study. So that would have been in 2022 level 1 for the 2023 budget year. And then, so when you do a level 1, so actually this is kind of how reserve studies go. So like every association has to have, you have to have that level 1 reserve study. And then technically, once you get that level 1, you don't really need level 1 again, but that's what the level 2 is basically for. It's, I guess if you want to put it into like a doctor's visit sort of analogy, would be like the level 1 would be this, having you visit the doctor's office, they do this full-blown evaluation of you.
New patient evaluation.
Yeah, exactly. New patient, labs, everything, height, weight, all that stuff, blood pressure, the whole 9 yards, like MRIs, CT scans, whatever the heck. And then they have all this, now they have this now they know exactly who you are in your health status at that point. And then once you get that level 1, so to speak, then the next 2 years need to be what's called the level 3 reserve study. And that would be, you don't need to go back to the doctor's office, but you need to call in and tell the doctor, then they'll ask you, what kind of diet are you on? Have you been adhering to this plan that I said? Have you made any dietary changes, your exercise changes? What are they, and then they give you like a status update at that point. And then, so you need to do the level 3 for 2 years following the level 1.
No.
And then, for 2 years. And then that 3rd year needs to be a level 2. So now you're going back to the doctor's office, so to speak, but
they know you.
Yeah, but they know you, so they don't have to start from scratch. You can think about it like that. So a level 2 is what's called an update with visual site inspection. A level 3 is just called an annual update, and then a level 1 is a full reserve study funding analysis and plan. So they're coming out, they're looking at everything, and we're looking at the useful lives and the present value and that sort of measuring things. How many miles of roads do we have and that sort of stuff. Then they come up with a full-blown funding plan for the place. So now,
are you saying we don't have to do a level 1 again then?
Technically, no. Okay. It would just be a level 2 every 3rd year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now that we did the level 2 last year, and obviously level 2 is more expensive because the reserve study specialist came out, and walked the property and inspected stuff and looked at, and that, we had more stuff added to the reserve study plan, because of the specialists coming out looking especially turf care equipment and stuff like that. And now that he's been here last year, now for 2 more years, we can do a level 3, which will be a lot less than a level 2, if you can imagine. So like the level 2 is about double what this level 3 is. but that's basically where we stand at this point. Did that kind of, I didn't hear your whole question.
No, yeah, no, that gets, I was just wondering what a level 3, how it actually, what do they do? But it sounds like you talk to them on the phone or something.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Just
Yes,
discuss
so-
where things are.
Yeah, so for a level 3, like, I'll be, gone through with the managers and stuff, this is what happens every year, the managers go out and inventory stuff, and does everything look good? Do we need to add something, move something? Does a date need to be moved up or brought in, for a replacement date, or the values or whatever? And then I'll update this whole reserve study, so I'll update all the software, because I'll have access to the software. Then I'll go in and update the values and replacement life and all that sort of stuff. And then the reserve study specialist will review all of my updates. And then we talk on the phone and he'll ask me about before we finalize the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm gonna read the motion then. Motion that the board of directors accepts the level 3.
Wait, actually,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Keith, before you.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering, I inserted kind of a couple of years, maybe that would clarify things. So how we talk about how we're doing it.
Okay, very good. All right, motion that the board of directors accepts the level 2026, accepts the 2026 level 3 reserve study proposal for the 2027 budget year from Smart Property for a total of $5,257.82 to be paid for from operations, and to further authorize the general manager to sign the reserve study agreement letter.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
That's unanimous.
Can I get that?
Yeah.
What you wrote down.
You can just take that if you want to. You can just take that.
Okay, I'm just getting a picture of the motion. Then you can have it back. Add it in writing on.
All right, moving on to our last item, item 7C under new business, request for approval for the offer for 63 Louise Drive. Joanne?
So the purpose of this memo is to request approval of an offer to purchase 63 Louise Drive. On November 14th, 2024, the board of directors approved actions that would lead to the sale of 3 lots, and I put the memo in for your reference. 2 of those lots have been sold. An offer to purchase, which I also attached, has just been received for the 3rd lot located at 63 Louise Drive. The proposed buyer is a local builder who has never owned property in Sudden Valley before, but has been a subcontractor on numerous new home starts for other builders. Based on this offer, Sudden Valley can expect the following in closing costs. The offer price is $10,000. After, there's a 7% commission for that's $700. We would pay excise tax of $160. We have to get title insurance for just under $400, and half of the escrow charge, which is $336.97, leaving approximate net proceeds of $8,417.14. That is approximate because it doesn't take into account the pro rata for when we actually close, and then divide up the property taxes and dues for whatever month we close in. The offer has an expiration date of March 27th. The buyer has requested 30 days of feasibility contingency, which is standard, and the closing date would then be scheduled to be on Friday, April 10th. So I request that the board of directors approve the offer to purchase the undeveloped lot located at 63 Louise Drive with a full list price of $10,000, and authorize board president Keith McLean to sign the offer on your behalf.
Thank you.
So the map says.
All right, the motion, I move that the board of directors approve the offer to purchase the undeveloped lot located at 63 Louise Drive for the full list price of $10,000, and authorize board president Keith McLean, myself, to sign the offer on their behalf.
Second.
Any questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. All right, very good. You make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:14 PM.